So I came from a very dysfunctional family. My mother and father divorced when I was 5, and we moved around every 3 months, and I was raised in poverty. My mother was on welfare and never had no kind of structure or discipline or routine, so we bounced around and we just moved when we couldn't pay the rent, things like that. And when I was about 12, I started leading a promiscuous life and started using drugs. And 17 and a half, I met my first husband and then had my first child when I was 18. And during that time, I stopped using drugs, but then my disease progressed and I started using a lot of drugs. And during this time, I still was living the life of poverty, using this agency, using that agency, bouncing around, and see, my whole family comes from dysfunction, so I can relate to a lot of that. And I never had no walk with God growing up. It was a different kind of walk. My mother was a Jehovah's Witness, so we didn't have no holidays, we didn't have the right clothes, so even growing up trying to fit in was never there. So after having my first child, I started using drugs again, and it never went away because it was an addiction. It didn't just leave when you wanted to. During that time, my children got placed in foster care because of my drug addiction. Had our power shut off several times. Tried to use all the resources available, and just the bottom of the barrel. Ended up being homeless a couple times, sleeping in the car a couple times with the kids. It was just bad, but God intervened and took the kids, put them in Christian foster homes, and then I was being ministered to while I was in treatment. We reunited, and I had prayed for a church that would fit my family and what God wanted best for our family. And I ended up at this parenting class, and our small group leaders invited us to church. And we went, and we didn't have a car, so they would come and pick us up on Sundays and then bring us home. And we were welcomed and accepted where we were, not because, where we'd been. And I think it was really important to feel that acceptance. About a year later, my now ex-husband relapsed, and so in our home, it felt like a death in the family. And I was left with no job and no car and all the bills and all 4 kids, and my church family just stepped in and became that other parent and threw me a grocery shower and prayed with me and sent me cards in the mail and encouragement cards. I tried to get a job, but because of my past, I was not able to. My pastor came to me and said that he had a job for me, and I'm like, okay, well, what is it? And he had said it was at Love Inc., and I'm to go, first call Sherry, and I'm like, Sherry's from our church, and come to find out Sherry's the director, and I had called Love Inc. before for resources. I came into the interview with Sherry, and it was a good interview, and I started off doing data entry because that was what I was hired for. I was really grateful because here I was 27 years old, just got a license, and I finally got a job, and and life at home was hard, trying to be both parents and parent the 4 kids, but I had a lot of help from my church family. What I love about Love Inc. is that I get to come here and give back to so many times throughout my walk with Christ since I became a Christian 5 years ago. So many people have reached out and helped me, whether it be moving me, encouragement cards, prayers, hugs, and I found a church that I walk into and they know what's wrong with me just by the look on my face if there's something wrong with me. And I've never known that kind of love because I didn't have a healthy family. Working at Love Inc., I finally get to give back. All these years of people helping me and lifting me up and praying with me and encouraging me, and we're not, what we're designed to do is to mobilize the churches to help transform lives. So we're just the bridge between a church and the clients. We have all these people in our community who don't know Jesus, or who have not felt unconditional love, or who are lost, or who are going through just a crisis in their life. And Love Inc. gets to be that person on the other line who actually has compassion towards the people. And I think it's a great ministry for churches to be able to pick up what we can't offer or have here in the office. And so a lot of people want to serve and reach out. And I think that's what Jesus calls us to do anyways, is to be evangelists. And Loving gets to be that bridge between people and the churches that are waiting, with many different things that they could help with, whether it's prayer or home-cooked meals, or there's just many different things that people call in for that, not necessarily rent and utilities. It's not what the real need is. It's not that. That's just the surface problem. It's building that relationship with them. There was a young mother that called in who was in need of, she was due any day, already had 3 little kids, and the father was in jail. She was in need of food and a ride to her WIC office and just different things like that. So what we do is we look into the area that she's in and the churches that network with us, called to pick her up and take her and then bring her home, and then sometimes there's people that are willing to make blankets, little baby blankets that they've made as a welcoming thing for those babies. We have homemade quilts for babies too. It's really neat, and then afterwards, the follow-up thing, like sending an encouragement card to her that, we're proud of her and, we hope the delivery went well, things like that. It's important for them to feel not just one phone call and then, they'll forget about what had happened. But that's God's love going in different directions. From a ride, from a phone call, from an encouragement card, it goes in different directions. In turn, building that relationship with somebody who hasn't walked with God or doesn't know Jesus or hasn't felt loved, in turn, it is transforming lives. It builds the relationship and then it helps slowly transform the life.